Man, that was a crazy fight. It was pretty slow early on. They were kind of filling out the whole first round. Some pointers about that round actually that Ciryl Gane found out and then used later in the fight, but it really picked up in the middle of the second. And then after a punishing performance, surgically picking at Tai Tuivasa with jabs and front kicks and leg kicks and even some head kicks landing in there, still I have no idea how Tai took some of those shots. Absolutely one of the most durable fighters we've ever seen before. In the end, it didn't really matter, as Ciryl Gane finally put out Tai Tuivasa after some punishing blows that Tai just could not withstand anymore. And a lot have been asking me, was that a back of the head shot right before Tai actually got knocked out? Unfortunately, it was. Ciryl Gane threw a big hammer fist that blatantly landed to the back of the head, and that seemed to really stumble Tai to where the follow-up shot after put him out for good. Would have Ciryl Gane knocked him down at least without that hammer fist? I think so. I mean, Tai was on shaky legs the whole time. He was not defending himself. I mean, how many shots would have taken? 5 more, 7 more, 10 more? Regardless, I think Ciryl Gane would have landed those shots and Tai would have been dropped either way. But the fact of the matter is he did hit him in the back of the head with a big punch. It wasn't just a light shot. I mean, that was a huge hammer fist, and those kind of blows really do damage. But what led up to all of this? How did this actually start to happen to Tai, where it looked like it was kind of competitive in the first round, both feeling out the fight, trying to find their openings? The only difference was Ciryl Gane found his opening in the first round, whereas Tai Tuivasa was trying to find his the whole fight. Tai Tuivasa had a very interesting approach to this that ultimately got taken away from him for different reasons. Number one, he couldn't find his openings in the early rounds. He tried the leg kicks, those were getting defended, getting slid away from. He tried to find angles and try to even switch stances, which he doesn't normally do, and none of it was really working out for him. It was until he landed that one right overhand that made him think that he actually had the opening of Ciryl Gane, and he chased that for the entire fight. He had nothing else to go to. He had no other success in the fight. The only thing that was effective for him, he started to go to for the rest of the fight, and it caused them to start brawling more. And that brawling style of Tai Tuivasa is not something that can sustain for long against Ciryl Gane's technical style. He had one moment in the second round where he caught Ciryl Gane with a big right overhand, but the issue was it created a false opening for Tai Tuivasa for the rest of the fight because he started to go to that right overhand consistently afterward. It was like the only thing he found success with. If you look back at it, all of his leg kicks were getting checked, which is crazy. I mean, Tai Tuivasa not able to land his leg kicks was automatically going to put him at a huge disadvantage because that was his way of getting in. If he could not land leg kicks, Ciryl Gane's going to be moving around the cage the whole night, and Tai's rarely ever going to be able to catch up to him, and that's what happened for like 99% of the fight. Gane's footwork was his main agency, and Tai just had no way to get around it except one time where he threw the right overhand, but this is why it created false confidence in Tai Tuivasa. It wasn't a general opening because Ciryl Gane didn't see the punch, or he didn't have the right technique to defend it. Gane actually went to defend the punch. He went to block the punch with his left hand, but Tai was on a bit of a better angle, and it wasn't necessarily because he did that. Tai didn't necessarily take that angle on Gane. It was actually Gane that gave the angle to Tai. He bladed his stance, went sideways, so that naturally put Tai on the outside of his lead foot. And that's why the right overhand was there. Even though Gane saw the punch, and you know that he saw the punch because he went to block the punch, so his technique was correct when it came to his upper body, but his lower body not necessarily. And evident throughout the whole fight afterward, Tai did that same exact thing many times, and every single one of them were getting blocked. Many sequences happen where Tai is trying to chase for that right overhand, he has success with it, he tried to keep going for it, and Gane kept blocking it. And ultimately with him chasing that big punch, it strayed him away from any other technical opening he could have potentially sought out. Not only did this false opening make it harder for Tai to find punches, but it actually caused the biggest change in the fight for him. It caused him to start losing the fight, as that was the time where Ciryl Gane hurt him to the body for the first time. Tai did the exact same thing, big right overhand, and you can see Gane puts a high, tight guard, much tighter than before, and that shows the adjustment that he made. And then he pulls back away from the big overextending left hook, and look how unbalanced Tai gets. And the angle for Gane is perfect to land a big body kick. That was the first time Tai got hurt in the fight, and they just repeatedly kept coming to him. And from these body shots, the head kick actually landed. And from the head kick landing, It eventually caused the big knockout as Tai was hurt very bad after that. And the interesting thing is, these body kicks actually conditioned Tai to block the body when Gane went up high. For example, when Ciryl Gane threw the roundhouse kick, you can see Tai's left arm actually go down to his body. That's how you block a front kick, you hit it downward. Even though his right hand was up to his head somewhat, you could tell his focus was a bit all over the place, and the majority of his defense was actually low to his body. And not only that, there was the front kick to the face as well, where Tai thought it was going to be to the body again, only for him to get rocked. So you can actually make a line from where Tai thought he had the opening on Ciryl Gane with that right overhand, he kept going to it, so it caused him to get hit to the body, and that caused him to get kicked in the head 2 times, which eventually caused the knockout. Crazy to think how it turned out. Tai Tuivasa's lone success in the fight ultimately caused his demise. And that is a huge amount of credit to Ciryl Gane for making a bit of an adjustment in the fight. And here's an interesting thing. Gane was thrusting that front body kick in the first round, but up until like 32 seconds of that round, it wasn't landing. Tai was actually moving away from it, so what happened? Why did these front kicks start to land all of a sudden? Tai got frustrated. That's really what it came down to. In the beginning, he was giving different kind of looks, he was moving a lot more, he wasn't just trying to move forward and trying to find that entry shot, and that is why he was parrying the front kick, he was stepping back away from the front kick, and then entering behind that. It was a technical approach from Tai Tuivasa, but then things started not to play out well for Tai once he had Gane where he wanted him. He would have Gane up against the fence and he just could not find his punches. He would get kicked to the leg, Gane is throwing all these kind of feints, switching stances at the same time and all of that, and Tai just wants to find that shot. And once Gane gives the look like he's gonna exit out to his own right side, it was just a bait. Tai thought that's where Ciryl Gane was going to move, so he tried to intercept him with a left hook. But with Gane playing with Tai there, he exited out the other way, and that's why all Tai's shots missed. When Tai tried to find the leg kicks, Gane consistently was sliding away from them, causing them to extend all the way through. I mean, look how unbalanced Tai becomes, and it leaves openings for Ciryl Gane to land counter shots. He went to the leg kick here. Another time in the later round, he threw a body kick after this. Tai would try to find an opening by switching it to southpaw. Orthodox really not working that well for him, so he tried to switch things up, and the immediate time he switches, he gets jabbed in the face, and he acknowledges it. He starts shaking his head like, okay. And then he gets head kick immediately afterward. He blocks it with one hand. And that was the moment that you saw Tai Tuivasa start to have enough. He felt like the fight was getting away from him. He can't hit this guy. He's getting hit with all these shots. And immediately after that, he takes a jab to the head and just tries to tank it, winging haymakers. And that's when the first front kick landed to the body. And this constant frustration started to carry out for the whole fight. More entries from Tai Tuivasa switching into southpaw but only getting countered for doing it. Ciryl Gane is just showing to be way too fast for Tai. And that not only came with the defense, but it came with his offense as well, as many times he would throw punches in the open and Tai just could not defend them. And Tai would try to defend him, which shows you that he saw the shot coming, but he was always a little too late on every single strike. Gane would throw a naked left straight, and Tai would get hit in the face, and you could see that he tried to parry it afterward. Then later, he eats a jab to the face and tries to parry that as well, but only gets there too late. Then more of his kicks were getting checked. He even went to one to the body, and that was the nastiest check of all of them, as you could see that Tai's leg, after he puts it to the ground, it starts to shake up on him. And it's merely because he kicked the knee with his foot. I wouldn't be shocked if Gane injured Tai doing that, as it wasn't just one time he kicked Ciryl Gane's knee with his foot. That actually happened multiple times in the fight, and that may have also had a bit of a factor as to why Tai stopped moving anywhere. He became a lot more flat-footed. So potentially Ciryl Gane could have hindered Tai Tuivasa's movement by simply checking the kicks, creating contact on that foot. And slowly throughout the fight, Tai Tuivasa's technique went out the window, and he just looked to land the big shots. He just looked to brawl. He couldn't move that much anymore. His movement was hindered. He couldn't find an opening, so he just resorted to his old ways. I mean, he got so hungry for the knockout that in the third round, he would wing that big right overhand, even though he sees that Ciryl Gane is blocking that side tightly. And that just shows the desperation from Tai Tuivasa. This is the kind of stuff that Ciryl Gane does to you, man. If you cannot keep up with him technically, man, he just takes you into a fight that you do not want to be a part of. Without any other openings that he found, he tried to use his face as a way to get in, taking punches and then just marauding through them. But that was not going to keep him in the fight too long. And when he started to use his chin as a way to get in, that actually got him knocked out, because Ciryl Gane jabs him to the face and Tai tries to tank right through it to land his big shots, shifting forward with a right straight left overhand combination, and this kind of combo could land on most heavyweights, but not someone like Gane. Look how quick Ciryl Gane is, and look at the angles that he takes. You're not going to see this from other heavyweights. It's such a treat watching him fight. So Ciryl Gane retracts the jab very quickly and starts to lean away from the offense, then slightly sidesteps at the same time, calls a left overhand to go over his shoulder, and now he ends up on the outside of it as he switches into the orthodox stance, getting a huge angle on Tai Tuivasa. Look at the angle of where they started, look at their stances and everything, and now look how it ended. That is all credit to Ciryl Gane's footwork right there, man. And Tai Tuivasa does not bring his hands up, doesn't try to defend himself, and he takes a right hand to the face. By the way that Ciryl Gane threw the punch, it was all of his power. There was really no technique in the punch alone. It was all of his body weight, full force right to the face, and Ciryl Gane doesn't necessarily always do something like that. So you could tell he was extremely confident that this shot would have landed. Ciryl Gane is something else, man. He had one hiccup in the fight, as it's going to happen. It was something I was talking about before, that it's a heavyweight division, you never know what happens. Anybody can hurt anybody. All Tai needed was one punch in the whole fight to sit Ciryl Gane. Which is crazy to think about, because even Francis Ngannou couldn't do that. And it's not that Tai hits harder than Francis, it's the right shot at the right time. Ciryl Gane not only showed to be more technical, he showed heart in this fight, he showed his ability to weather the storm and come back, and always had his wits about him, always fought by the game plan, and always saw the way to win. And it was a bit of a difference with Tai Tuivasa, where he was extremely hungry and eager for the knockout after that happened, where he lost all of his technique, which is interesting to think about. The guy who knocked the other one down lost his technique trying to finish it. The guy who got knocked down adjusted in the fight a little bit and stayed technical. That is some veteran stuff from a guy who only has 12 professional fights.